18 seasons in Baltimore, Steve, and John Harbaugh is out. Won a Super Bowl after the 2012 season, but with 7 seasons with Lamar Jackson, the farthest they got was an AFC title game. They were at home. I was there, and they were favored, but they ended up losing to Kansas City. 2-time MVP seasons. I think both those seasons, Steve, they ended at home as the favorite, losing in the postseason. Maybe that plays a part. We'll see. But John Harbaugh and the Ravens parting ways. Steve, you played 3 seasons for John Harbaugh. He essentially, I think, recruited you to come to Baltimore.
Yeah,
your initial thoughts?
Man, it's surprising, but understand when you have a coach that's 63 years old, been there for 18 years, man, we hate to say it, but all things come to an end.
Time's undefeated. But oftentimes, you know this, Steve, when there is a head coaching change, and we know this is different for the Ravens because they don't do it very often, but in a lot of instances in a lot of buildings, what are they looking for after they let go of a coach? The opposite.
Opposite.
Right? So maybe they are looking for somebody that's the opposite of the way John operates. I wanted to ask you about loyalty. This is something that I was having some discussions with a couple of people around the league after this news broke. I was always under the impression there's a private relationship between John Harbaugh and Steve Bisciotti.
Yep.
He reported only to Steve Bisciotti. He did not report to Eric DeCosta. It was directly between head coach and owner. There was never really going to get anything out between their conversations. But the only time I was told they were most likely going to part ways is when there became an opportunity where one of them presented a change to the other and they didn't want to make that change. Now, my understanding is part of this was about Todd Monken and Steve Bisciotti wanting to move on from Todd Monken and John Harbaugh not wanting to part ways with his coordinators. Zach Orr as well. I don't know if he was essentially on. It was more about Todd Monken. What happens in this league, and you know this, there are many head coaches that are fired because of the loyalty to their staff.
Yeah.
Right? They will not turn their back on their staff.
But there are a lot of times when the poop hits the fan, coaches sacrifice
100%.
people on their staff.
100%. And that certainly happens. And I would say this. I got a text or two today from other coaches saying, bravo, John, if this is the way it happened. In the coaching circles, if you're loyal to the guys that are with you, Gary Kubiak was one of those guys that there were times where guys on his staff were going to, owners wanted to make a change and he just dug his heels in and said, there's no way I'm getting rid of this guy. You are highly respected in the coaching world if that's the way you think. Is that the type of guy John is?
I believe, yes, that's who he is.
The evidence kind of proves
However, I also think when you are somewhere for 18 years,
of course,
you're going to do some things that you said you would never do. And the reason I bring that up is when you look at the John Harbaugh and his lineage and what has transpired in Baltimore, there are instances when you were talking where my mind was going, but changing of defensive coordinators at times, right? Some defensive coordinators who are doing a really good job. And so it's always been parting ways, right? It's a mutual agreement to part ways. But that's the nice way of saying, like, hey, it was him or me, right?
Yeah. And this was not mutual parting ways, by the way, between John Harbaugh and the Ravens. It was not. And if you wanted to have it put into clear words for you, just read John Harbaugh's statement and read Steve Bisciotti's statement. Right, Steve? They were both put out pretty close to one another. Steve Bisciotti bluntly said, I have decided to part ways with John Harbaugh. Yes. Harbaugh starts his with, I thought my last day at the Ravens would be, a little bit different. So this was not a mutual parting of ways. This was a differing sense of opinion on several things. I think the Monken one's part of it. Now, I don't know for a fact, but Ian Rappaport reported that he had essentially maybe lost the locker room and lost Lamar. I don't know if that's true. I don't. But apparently, Steve Bisciotti was listening to a lot of people in that locker room. So sometimes...
Mr. Bisciotti will ask questions.
Is that true?
right? Yeah,
Okay.
he'll walk straight up to you. Hey, I need to talk to you.
Mm.
Shoot me straight. So
He's always gathering in a sense and then keeping
he's
it to
always
himself.
gathering information, and he's very hands-on in gathering that information. But he also allows the people that he's hired to do their jobs,
Of course.
and I can
That's
tell
that's
you,
a fine line to
bro,
walk.
that's
If you're
not
good at
that
it,
is
that's great.
that is not always the case.
Mhm.
Not every owner / boss, CEO, the shot caller allows the people he's hired to do his job.
No, that is not always the case.
I just need to
That's a great point.
reiterate that because people assume that, and the people, some of these people that are watching, you can assume that. We all have jobs. We all report to someone. Let's be honest. Sometimes the people we report to micromanage us,
Of course.
right? So just throwing it out there.
No, that's really well put in that sense because it is true. There's definitely the term meddling by ownership sometimes in terms of not letting their people go out there and work.
I remember something someone said to me. I heard this when I was first getting into media, and someone I can't reveal who told me, and I can't reveal what exactly from that source, but they said, hey, a lot of owners, when they're hiring head coaches, sometimes have no idea what kind of coach they're looking for, because you have to understand, for most owners, how did they make their money?
Not in football.
Not in football. So they're experts. I call them experts. When you got a couple of billions just sitting over here, you're an expert, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? These billionaires are not Instagram. They got real money.
Mm-hmm.
You're not seeing they don't have Snapchat filters on their cash. They are the filter, right?
Yeah.
And so they've made their money in whatever business they've done. And when they come over into the NFL, they're learning that business.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I've heard some owners have no idea what type of head coach they are looking for.
Facts.
And so I just wanted to say that just because, if you're watching this and your team has decided to let go of your coach, who you want, man, that's fantastic. But I don't know if that owner or ownership knows exactly what they're looking for.
That's factual. And that's oftentimes why, when we look at where these openings are right now, there's only one spot that let go of the head coach and the general manager. And that was Atlanta.
Yeah.
The general manager has remained in place in every other spot. You know why? Oftentimes for two reasons. One, these owners, like you just said, don't want to go through this search by themselves. They like the general manager's help. They need oftentimes that football mind and general manager's help within the search. And two, I just got to get this out and stick up for all the head coaches out there. Head coaches hate it that when things are going bad, Steve, I'm on the sideline and I'm coaching on Sunday. Where's the GM?
Upstairs.
He's sitting in the owner's box.
Yeah, he's sitting in the owner's box snitching.
Sitting next to the owner. Sitting next to the owner.
Man, I told him he shouldn't have did that.
Sure, man, I mean, he's not using them right. I mean, when we had the vision for him, it was this, but he just ain't playing them right. If we had somebody else, it's always coaches have always felt like they're at a disadvantage on game day when things are going poorly compared to the general manager.
Some people don't even understand what the role of the general manager is.
All encompassing right now.
Bro, I'll call the general manager exactly what he is. He's a fireman.
Dude, everywhere.
He puts out fires. Mm-hmm. But he's also the go-between. The general manager reports, obviously, to the owner. But then the owner tells the general manager things that now he has to, PC-wise, regurgitate what was said. Mm-hmm. To kind of,
kind of filter it up a little bit.
Filter it a little bit. let me put a bow on this instead of what was really
instead of what I heard behind closed doors. Yeah. I mean, Steve, they right now, and you're seeing this change in general managers, by the way. I know we're a little off topic here, but I think this is fascinating. A lot of teams, like, say, the Rams or, say, the Lions, I think Miami, with the new system that they're setting in place, is the general manager role is so all-encompassing, like you said, from nutrition to business to finance to analytics to all these different aspects. A lot of places now are splitting them up. There's one general manager there's one part of the general manager situation, like Brandon Shore, that's going to be in Miami, right? He got kind of elevated and kind of handles a lot of that. And they want the general manager to be more on the scouting side and more of handling coach and roster building. And some teams are having these kind of duality to it. You're seeing a little bit of it in Jacksonville with Tony Boselli and James Gladstone together, working together in terms of how this operates. I think it's because what's getting put under the general manager is almost everything in the building. And for one person to handle all of that is actually very difficult. So now teams are kind of splitting it between a couple of different people in play.
Because the business of football is becoming so huge. And
these are CEO, these are Fortune 500 companies, each one individually.
Yeah. So you got to have more hands on deck and people, specialists. You got to have people who are just the cap guy. So, before, not every organization had just a cap guy.
Yep.
Right? Sometimes the general manager was
doing the books.
But then now it was like, hey, you got the general manager who's talking to the agent and they soften up and the agent's working with the general manager. And then the agent has to deal with the cap guy, who sometimes the cap guy ain't nothing but he's an accountant, he's a nerd. He's sitting back there talking about, nah, that doesn't work for me, right? This is where we're at. So, and then the agent gets mad and he goes back to the general manager, and then the general manager is playing size to the cap guys like, hey man, make sure we don't have to give him that extra. Yep. Hey, oh man, I can't believe Johnny did that. James, I can't believe we just talked about this. And sometimes their offices are right next to each other and they're sitting there.
Yep.
Good job.
It happens.
So,
before we go though, Steve, I want to ask you this.
Yeah.
With that role, and I'm glad we talked about it, being so all-encompassing, there's also the CEO type of head coach in this league. John was obviously one of those. It was very unorthodox when he got the job 18 years ago as being a special teams coordinator and getting the head coaching job, right? What's your thought on these CEO type head coaches? I'm looking at, John was very, very good at that. It's when you don't really call plays on either side. You're overseeing everything. D'Amico Ryans kind of put himself in that situation this year when he handed over play calling to Matt Burke on the defensive side, and now he's kind of just overseeing everything. Nick Sirianni is that type of head coach where he oversees everything in Philadelphia and doesn't call plays on either side. Did you like that format when you were in Baltimore? That John has just an eye on everything and not a specific side of the ball? What's your take on that type of head coach? Because that's always a debate, right? Because everybody looking for these openings wants, they want the big offensive play caller, right? And they want the young up-and-coming Sean McVay. What's your take on the guy that oversees everything, the John Harbaugh type?
I always thought it was unique because John was a special teams coach. And, I noticed at times when you don't have a guy who is tied to one side or the other, that there are little breadcrumbs you can drop down in his ear a little bit sometimes, because he's general managing and he's managing everybody. And so he's open for all suggestions.
Oh, okay. Get in his ear.
Right?
What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the US, download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Well, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Compared to the other openings, it is head and shoulders above in terms of the setup and the operation and the opportunity compared to the other openings, certainly. And I do think, and I want your take on this about the building, because I got a text from an executive with another team, Steve, today when this news dropped and said, and you played for this team, so I want to hear your take.
Mm-hmm.
The Baltimore Ravens are the best run organization in professional sports. That came from another executive in the NFL. Just to give you context of what people think of this organization, from Steve Bisciotti to the way it is run, to the way that they treat their employees, right, Steve?
Everybody.
They're one of the few teams in the league that still gives a pension to their employees. Their health benefits are outstanding. I don't know if people know this. They're not universal across the NFL. There are 32 independent organizations that do dental, health, all that stuff differently.
Yep.
The Baltimore Ravens treat their employees incredibly. The
Immaculate.
facility's good, right? The general manager is really one of the better general managers in football. You have an MVP quarterback. I'm saying these other parts of it going, this is an appealing job. But the way the Ravens are run, what did you experience? Because the league understands, and that's why this is also appealing. You're coming into a place that has a patient owner and stability because they're so well run.
Well, obviously I stayed in Carolina for 13 years and, I had Big Cat, Mr. Richardson. And Mr. Richardson was excellent. He taught me a lot of things. To this, I don't think this has been said, but I just remember when I signed with Baltimore Ravens and I was there, I met with Mr. Bisciotti. This was like probably a couple of weeks or a couple of months into, being in an organization. And he said, hey, man, I wanted to, he didn't say, hey, man, but he's like, I wanted to chat with you. If you're around, just stop by. So I went by his office. Immaculate. Office is outstanding because it literally, you walk outside on his balcony and he's watching practice.
Oh, he's got that overlook. Yeah.
Oh, it's dope.
Beautiful.
And so I'm in there and he says that, Mr. Richardson wrote me a note because Mr. Richardson was all about handwritten notes.
Cool.
And he wrote me a note. Mr. Richardson wrote Mr. Bisciotti a note and said, take care of him. He's special. And
wow.
I wasn't shocked by Mr. Richardson's note. I guess I was shocked at how quickly it was. But Mr. Bisciotti had, he shared that with me because he wanted me to know, really like, hey, you're in good hands still. But when I got to the organization, I started experiencing, see how the Baltimore Ravens conduct themselves. It was exactly what I had hoped and thought when I became a free agent. That I always had this curious thing of how do other teams do things? And man, the motto of the Baltimore Ravens is not just a motto that people that people hear and they go, oh yeah, that's what they all say. They all don't say it. Whether you're a Raven for 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, or bro, you just made it through 4 or 5 games. They believe if you have the right mindset, once a Raven, always a Raven.
Yep.
And it's not just words. It's facts. And what does this have to do with John Harbaugh? That's why this man was there for 18 years. He got the opportunity to lay the foundation, go through some ups and downs, some peaks and valleys, and not concern himself with, well, the fan base is saying something, so we got to go with it. Mr. Bisciotti doesn't go with that. He evaluates everything, even keel, straightforward,
And
then
they're close,
employ.
Steve. They were close. They were very close.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to say were. They probably still are in some capacity or will be again. But they were very close for a long time, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir. So it's just really cool. Now I can get to reminisce and say, hey, why is, man, I've said it and I'll continue to say it, man. I have dual citizenship. Man, I love Baltimore and I'm beloved in Baltimore, and there's still people there at that organization. They bring their kids around, right? It's just a different deal.
Yeah.
And whoever comes in there in that organization and has the privilege to try to get the ship right or get the ship back on course, one, there got to be somebody that's special. They have to know exactly who they are and be firm, but also adjustable. Because I only know about two organizations, and then I know about some of the organizations that players complain about.
Yep.
But you got to have your stuff in order, right? There are organizations, if you don't have your stuff in order, when you get that job, you ain't going to last.
Yeah.
Right? New England's one of those places. That's why they went with Vrabel. I think it's going to be interesting to see who is that next candidate, because there's so many other jobs that are available. And it's not about which job is better. Depending on who the individual is, it's going to, for some of it, Baltimore is not going to be that place. But some of these other jobs, it's about how much money that coach is going to make.
And sometimes you got to overpay, Steve.
Yes.
In certain organizations, you have to overpay to get that coach there and lure them there. That's a point. And so I get what you're saying, but at the same time, there's an aspect. If you are a candidate right now, yes. Yeah, Las Vegas got 6 coaches in 6 years. We are talking about the Baltimore Ravens that are looking to hire their 4th head coach in the last 30 years.
That's crazy.
So that's crazy. And that shows you, if you're a candidate for this job, there is stability within the organization. That matters as the head coach.
Yep.
That it's not erratic ownership, which does exist in the NFL, where there's going to be a knee-jerk reaction. It feels like the Titans are looking for the exact same coach they fired right now in Mike Vrabel. It's like they're looking for the same traits of the guy they had 2 years ago. Certain organizations operate a little bit more erratically. The Ravens are not one of those. What I do think, and the way you perfectly describe the organization, and everything that I kind of laid out as well with you do have pretty good pieces. You do have an MVP type quarterback that when you have that type of player, you almost always have a shot.
He's a 2-time MVP. What you talking about type? Get that man. No, I'm just teasing.
When you have an absolute unicorn at quarterback that has never existed in the history of the NFL in terms of what he can do on a football field, you will always have a chance. But the point that I'm saying is, what I was kind of hearing around the league is because of the stability, because of the way that they're built, they almost have an opportunity to think outside the box if they'd like, because they can possibly take a risk on somebody that maybe another organization can't.
Yeah.
For one reason or another. Do you want to go to Notre Dame and try to go, hey, I know you got a new contract, Marcus Freeman, but we're the Ravens. Like, you have a little more pull when you're certain organizations, when you're trying to talk to candidates. Is that not correct? I think you have to oftentimes, certain organizations, when I talk around the league, they have to sell themselves to the candidate.
Yes.
Right now, in the Ravens situation, it's more the candidates are going to be selling themselves to the Ravens.
That is correct, because the facility is top-notch. They just redid the whole training facility.
It's unreal. It's like you're going to Bruce Wayne's castle.
It's called the castle
there to get there, right? Little putting green out front. Yeah,
man, it's in Owing Mills. It's in the middle. You go in there and it's just dope, man. It's a one winning drive. for me, it was eye-opening just to see how things were different. Little quick story.
Well, I want to hear it.
Man, the thing that John got, how he got me in Baltimore is one of the things that he did was he was like, hey, most of the teams, Tuesdays are their day off.
Of course.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Man, John was like, look, I'm thinking about moving our day off to Mondays. What do you think about that? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What's in it for me? That's what I said in here. I didn't say it out loud.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah. I said, well, I want to go back to Charlotte. He's like, man, you go back to Charlotte. You can go back to Charlotte all you want if you can help me get this on Mondays.
Moved up.
Man.
Where do I sign?
I signed that. I was like, if you add another about 1.2 on there, we got a deal, coach.
Is that what you said? Another 1.2?
No, I said that. I texted that to my agent. Hey, give me some more money.
Yeah.
And then John was like, yeah. And I said, hey, I'll do it. But after the games, especially away games, I want to fly directly back to Charlotte. Mm-hmm. He was like, you can do it if you can get Mondays. I said, you have no idea. Okay. We're going to have Mondays off. And then it was the one last thing I said, hey, I got a question. Who on this team has my damn number? Because you're going to have to explain to him, he ain't 89 no more. That's my number. He goes, I don't know, but
I don't know.
Hey, well, we got Mondays.
Oh, man. Do you know who was 89? I have no idea.
I have no idea who was 89, but guess
what? It wasn't 89 anymore.
So it wasn't.